Joe Kristufek alongside Scott Shapiro on the far left for the first time on the show. We welcome Scott. We also welcome a special guest to the program, exercise rider Nick Bush, who works for the Todd Pletcher camp for 11 years, in fact, a family of grooms and horse people, his father, his grandfather, his great-grandfather. And Nick, you're a familiar face to people that paid attention to the Kentucky Derby, particularly last year, because 1 year ago, Always Dreaming was a horse that you were instrumental in getting him ready for the race and eventually winning. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Talk about it. Tell us about Always Dreaming. Tell us about what was happening 1 year ago. I mean, obviously, this was a horse that was feeling really good, but maybe at this point a little bit too good.
Yeah, he was coming into the race. He was coming into the race with Adele. She was the rider before him, and he was getting a little too aggressive. And she had galloped him all winter long, and she did a good job with him. But when he got here, he got different. You know, I guess the grandstand and all the traffic, and he knew what he was here for. So he got really, really aggressive. And I'm a little bigger than her, and probably a little stronger. So you know, he got to where he was throwing his head and running off with her, so Todd had to make a change, you know, to try to save something for race day. So he switched me and put me on him and put draw reins on him to try to keep his head down, like a different piece of equipment to try to keep his head down and to keep him focused and try to save something, like I said, for race day, because we knew he was peaking. He was peaking at the time, and we didn't want him to be over the top going in and have used himself up. So we basically, you know, switched up and got him to relax a little bit, and the draw reins helped him keep his head down and helped me slow him down a little bit. And on race day, he was really good.
Nick, you've been on Magnum Moon in the mornings this year. Obviously, the horse, beautiful colt, tons of talent. We saw him veer out a little bit in Arkansas, some concerns. Has he learned a little bit in the mornings? Do you feel confident?
Yeah, I feel really confident. I think he was just a little green looking at the tire tracks, and he wasn't quite focused in that race. I think he was only running 75% in the stretch, because if you watched him when Luis was trying to make him switch leads, he was not really running full speed, but he was still drawing away from him. So I'm very confident. I think we're going to work him over the track and try to get him to look at everything on the infield so he can be straight and not getting out like he was.
Nick, he's a beast of a horse. He's huge. Does that inhibit him in a race like the Kentucky Derby, where there are 20 horses, as far as, you know, the potential for traffic? Do you think he's a horse that can put himself in position to get the job done? And do you think maturity-wise, there's that whole Apollo curse thing? Yeah. He didn't run it all at age 2. Do you think he's got the mental and physical ability to handle 170,000 people in a 1.25 mile race?
I think he's a professional. He's pretty classy for his age. Like, you know, he's pretty mature. He didn't run as a 2-year-old, which I think is good, because, you know, it saved him a little bit, and he didn't have to go through that grind. But I know that the Apollo curse or whatever, but things like that are meant to be broken. So, but I think he will put himself in the race. He's the type of horse you can shut him on, shut him off, and you know, he's got a bunch of different gears to where, you know, he should be all right and be able to put himself in the race and put himself in a comfortable spot.
A couple weeks off. He's going to be working tomorrow. How do you feel?
You know, he just only ran 2-3 weeks ago. It's a little close, but I think he's good. You know, he handles it well. He come back good. He looks better than ever. You know, he's solid. He didn't lose no weight. So I think he's going to be pretty good, hopefully. All we need is a good post and a good trip, and hopefully we'll be right there.
Great.
Well, Nick has been aboard Noble Indy as well. He's also been aboard Audible in the mornings, who has a little bit of reputation of being not the greatest workhorse, maybe a little bit better in the afternoon than he is in the morning. We caught up with trainer Todd Pletcher.
The one thing that I don't think people really get to see a lot of horses breeze over the Palm Beach track, and it's a great surface and one that we've had a lot of success over, and you know, I think it's a very safe surface, but it's a little quirky, and sometimes horses will not put in as good a breezes on it as they will other times. You know, and his breeze before the Florida Derby, John Velasquez, who knows the horse well and has ridden him before and worked him before, was scheduled to come out. It was the same day as the Louisiana Derby. Johnny called me like at 5:15. He said, I'm on my way, but I'm stuck on the Florida Turnpike. There's been a bad accident. I said, call me back in a few minutes. Let me know where you stand. So he calls me back like 15 minutes later and said, I haven't moved. I said, we'll cover it here, turn around, go to the airport, get to New Orleans. And so Nick Bush worked him that morning and never been on him before. So some things like that, might have affected why he didn't work as well as he sometimes will. But he's not an overzealous horse in the morning. I think that's part of what makes him good. He's very relaxed when he goes to the paddock. He's laid back. He's adaptable to different racing styles. Laid fairly close in the Holy Bull, dropped way back in a hot pace in the Florida Derby, and still produced that big turn of foot. To me, like, what was really impressive about his Florida races was the quick acceleration. You see that on the turf more often than you do on the dirt, and he was able to really quicken during the course of the race.
Well, Nick, you make Palm Beach Downs your home in the wintertime. Todd talked about that being a little bit of a quirky surface. And Audible's a little bit of a quirky horse. He's a lot better in the afternoon than he is in the morning. And Todd also alluded to the final workout before the Florida Derby where Johnny got stuck on the expressway, and it's the call to Nick Bush to get up. The experts were not impressed by that workout. A lot of people jumped off of Audible. That's why I got a better price on him.
Right. Yeah, he's the type that, he doesn't work really well in the morning, but he's an afternoon horse, which is good because, that's when you want him to show up. There's no money in the morning. But then again, like, a lot of people got off of him is because, like, they didn't see him go out there and do it 47, 48 or whatever. But his gallop out was really good. And he's one of them horses that keep grinding and all the way through, and he'll gallop out well. It's kind of different in the mornings because when they're going against one horse, sometimes they say, okay, I know what this is all about, and just not give you their all. But when they go out in the afternoon and they break out that gate and you got another 8 or 9 horses going with them and they hear all them footsteps and, they're in that, I guess it's a whole different ball game for them. And, some of them show up and some of them don't,
Speaking of communication with jockeys, Nick, what kind of communication do you have with guys like Javier Castellano, Johnny V, Luis Saez, before races, after works, things like that?
Oh, I talk to them. I ask them, what they think about the race or whatever. I got them all. I got all their phone numbers, so I'll text them. I hope I don't get on their nerves and ask them, but I'll text them and ask them what they think, and we get together and, sometimes we put our heads together and they'll ask me for advice sometimes, and when I tell them, which can be beneficial because I ride the horse every day, or I'll come back and I'll ask them what they think about this horse, why they do that, or, that. So we'll try to figure it out and maybe we got to change equipment or whatever we got to do. But yeah, I try to keep in contact with them guys,
Makes sense.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Nick, you've worked for Todd Pletcher, you told me offset, for 11 years now. It's been in your family. It's been in your blood. And Todd Pletcher is the man, obviously. He's done so much. He started more horses after this year in the Kentucky Derby than any other trainer. I've been to Palm Beach Downs. I've seen how he runs his operation there. And he's got a lot of people that have worked for him for a long, long time. What's it like to work for Todd Pletcher?
Yeah, it's a good job. Todd's a great guy, He won a lot of races. He puts you in the spotlight. He puts you out there. If you're willing to work hard, he puts you in the right spot where you need to be in this game. He takes you. I've been a lot of places that I would never have gone if it wasn't for him. He's just a nice guy. Some people say he's standoffish or whatever, but if you go up to him and you talk to him, he's probably one of the coolest people you'll ever meet. And he's laid back, and it's a great job. I love it.
I've been impressed with his attention to detail. It seems like it's kind of almost like a military operation at Palm Beach Downs where everybody knows what they're supposed to do, including saying good morning in the mornings, which is very important, and it gets people off to a great start. But talk about his attention to detail. That's probably a big reason for his success.
Oh, my God. He's like very, 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 very in detail. He knows everything, even in the dark. I remember a horse dropped me one morning, and I wheeled, and I ended up catching it. But I thought nobody saw me, and I got back to the barn and said, hey, Todd, come back. He goes, that was a nice catch, Nick. And I was like, wow, you saw me? It was unbelievable. So he pays attention to every little thing. You think he doesn't see you, but he sees every little part of the track. He sees, and it's amazing. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he does it with all those horses, but he's a very smart guy, and that's a big reason to his success, I say.
You guys got 4 horses in the Derby this year. Obviously, your heart is with Magnum Moon, but I'm guessing you like all 4 of them. Any real quick insight before we let you go as to who might be doing the best right now? Vino Rosso's really impressed me in the morning.
Vino Rosso looks good. If he runs his race, he could be very, very dangerous. Noble Indy, I like Noble Indy the way he fought back against Lone Sailor the other day. If y'all watched him work, Lone Sailor's a very nice horse, and I thought he was beat at the top of the stretch, and he fought back. And I talked to Johnny after that. I said, do you think he can go longer? And he said, yeah, I think so. I think definitely. So I was like, wow. And then the way Audible runs is like he drops out of it, he's on the backside backpedaling, and all of a sudden you see him just picking the horses off, and so that's kind of scary, I'm a big Magnum Moon fan, but hopefully everything goes right. And but you never know. We any other 4 could show up on that day, whoever's on that day.